Paul Hogan's life wasn't just about Crocodile Dundee. It was also marked by a heart-wrenching divorce that shattered his world. Behind the laughter and fame, Hogan reveals the raw, painful truth of losing not just a wife, but a best friend. What really happened behind closed doors? Stick around, because this is the untold story of how fame, love, and heartbreak collided in the most surprising way. Paul Hogan, the famous Australian actor known for his portrayal of Mick Dundee in Crocodile Dundee, has had a life filled with both public triumphs and personal struggles. One of the most difficult chapters of his life was his divorce from Linda Kozlowski, his co-star from the Crocodile Dundee films. Their relationship seemed like the perfect Hollywood love story, but behind the scenes it was far from easy. In his later years, Hogan opened up about the painful details of the split, shedding light on the emotional toll it took on him. Hogan's rise to fame began in the 1980s, and during the filming of Crocodile Dundee, a film that would make him an international star, he met Linda Kozlowski. The two had an undeniable on-screen chemistry that quickly transitioned into a real-life romance. The rugged Aussie hero and the glamorous American actress made a striking couple, both in their roles in the film and in their personal lives. Their relationship was quick to capture the public's attention, and many believed it would last forever. The couple married in 1990, and their bond appeared unbreakable. Together, they raised a son, Chance, born in 1998. For years, they seemed like the perfect match, often seen together at public events, supporting each other through Hollywood's pressures and challenges. They traveled the world, and Hogan's rising fame only seemed to bring them closer. But behind the smiles and the media coverage, cracks began to appear in their marriage. Hogan and Kozlowski's relationship was built during his peak years of fame. As Hogan's career soared, so did the pressures of living in the spotlight. Despite the public appearances of unity and happiness, Hogan later admitted that the fame and lifestyle had put a strain on their personal life. The couple often found themselves juggling the demands of their careers and their family life with very little time for themselves. This is something that many celebrity couples face: the struggle to balance the public with the private, success with personal happiness. In the early years, Hogan and Kozlowski were the epitome of a Hollywood power couple. They appeared together in public events, attended premieres, and lived the glamorous lifestyle that fans could only dream of. Their relationship was often seen as perfect from the outside, and their fans rooted for them to stay together. However, the reality was that, like any other couple, they faced challenges behind closed doors. The strain on their marriage became more apparent over time. And by 2013, after more than 2 decades together, Linda Kozlowski filed for divorce. Hogan described the divorce as a difficult and emotional process, acknowledging the heartbreak that comes with the end of a long-term relationship. Despite the public perception that their marriage was perfect, Hogan revealed the silent struggles that took place within their home. The tension and differences between them grew, and their once close relationship began to feel like it was falling apart. While the divorce proceedings were reported to be less dramatic than Hogan's first divorce, which was highly publicized in Australia, the emotional cost was still significant. For Hogan, the loss of Kozlowski was like losing both a partner and a best friend. His words echoed the deep pain of such a personal loss. "Divorce is like surgery without anesthesia," Hogan famously said, illustrating just how deeply the separation affected him. The emotional scars, he explained, were something he felt every day. The end of the marriage stripped him of the natural optimism that he was known for, and it took time for him to process the loss. The absence of Linda in his life left a void that was difficult to fill. Hogan shared that the silence in the house after the divorce was deafening. He would walk past her empty chair or notice her coffee cup still in the cupboard, and each reminder felt like a stab to the heart. These small details revealed the raw human side of a man who had been portrayed as the fearless, tough, and humorous Mick Dundee. Despite his public persona, Hogan admitted that the divorce affected him on a deeply personal level. The pain of the divorce did not end once the legal papers were signed. Hogan explained that the real struggle began afterward, when he had to come to terms with the loss. "People think divorce ends the pain once the papers are filed," he said. But the truth was, that's when the emotional battle truly begins. The absence, the loneliness, and the constant questioning of whether things could have been different became part of his daily life. Despite the difficult separation, Hogan remained respectful of Linda. He acknowledged her role as a mother to their son Chance, and despite their differences, he emphasized that their shared history couldn't be erased. Their marriage had been woven into the fabric of his career, and moving on wasn't as simple as leaving behind a relationship. It meant letting go of a part of his identity. Hogan's reflections on the divorce also revealed that love, even when genuine, can sometimes not be enough to overcome the differences that develop over time. Sometimes, despite the history, the memories, and the shared life, people just grow apart. Hogan admitted that it was hard to move on because every movie, every photo, every memory had Linda's face in it. It wasn't something he could just pack away in a box. The personal and professional intertwining made the separation more complicated than it might have been for an ordinary couple. But through it all, Hogan has remained focused on being a good father to Chance. While the end of his marriage was painful, his love for his son remained constant. In many ways, Chance became the anchor that kept him going through the heartache. After Paul Hogan and Linda Kozlowski finalized their divorce, Hogan found himself struggling with the silence left in his life. Their marriage had been intertwined with both personal and professional experiences that were difficult to untangle. Not only did he lose his partner of over 2 decades, but he also had to face the reality of life without someone who had been a constant in both his private and public world. Hogan's reflection on the separation revealed the deeper, emotional costs of divorce, especially when it comes to losing someone who had been a part of so many chapters of his life. Though the divorce was not as public or dramatic as his first, which had attracted a great deal of media attention in Australia, the emotional toll was still deeply felt. Hogan admitted that the hardest part was the absence of Linda from his day-to-day life. He described how walking through his home and noticing the small things, like her empty chair or her coffee cup left behind, was like a constant reminder of what he had lost. For over 20 years, they had been partners in everything, from raising their son to navigating the pressures of fame and Hollywood. So when Linda left, the absence was not just physical but emotional too. These were not just objects. They were symbols of a life they had once shared, and now they were empty. Hogan's description of the pain he felt after the divorce was vivid and raw. He compared divorce to surgery without anesthesia, an intense metaphor to explain the emotional pain he endured. Divorce often gets depicted as an end to a relationship, but for Hogan, it felt more like the beginning of a long process of dealing with the aftermath. While many people assume that once the divorce papers are signed, the pain goes away, Hogan emphasized that it was just the opposite. The pain starts when the documents are signed, because that's when the reality of the absence sets in. The quiet after Linda's departure was deafening for Hogan, and it was a struggle to adjust to the new reality of being alone after having shared so much of his life with her. The emotional scars from the divorce didn't just vanish after the legal separation. Hogan admitted that even though his life seemed to move on, there was an ongoing sense of loneliness that he had to face daily. The man who had once been known for his charm and comedic timing as Mick Dundee now found himself grappling with something much more personal. The quiet suffering of a man who had lost the person he thought he would be with forever. Hogan had a sharp wit and was known for laughing at the absurdities of life, but this was no laughing matter. He confessed that even though he was strong on the outside, the inside hurt in a way he couldn't ignore. For Hogan, the most difficult part of the divorce was the void it created in his life. He no longer had Linda by his side, and this left him with questions about what could have been done differently. Despite his success, fame, and fortune, he found himself struggling with the emotional challenges that come with the end of a long-term relationship. The loss of someone who had shared so many moments with him, both professionally and personally, was not something he could easily move past. The memories of their time together, on screen and off, kept resurfacing, and it was hard to let go. But through all of this, Hogan has remained focused on his role as a father. He admitted that even though he was heartbroken, his son Chance became the driving force that kept him going. Unlike the emotional turmoil of his marriage, his relationship with Chance remained a constant source of joy and purpose. Hogan found solace in his role as a father, and this gave him the strength to move forward, even when the pain of the divorce lingered. He has always been candid about how much being a father meant to him. And despite the challenges of the divorce, Chance remained a steady light in his life. Though the divorce was painful, Hogan has made it clear that he still respects Linda as the mother of their son. Despite the breakdown of their marriage, Hogan has never spoken ill of Linda. He acknowledged her importance in his life, especially in raising Chance, and continued to show respect for the woman he once loved. The divorce was difficult, but Hogan has always maintained that it was a mutual decision made with respect for each other. However, the emotional side of it was much more complicated than just the legal separation. The real work began after the divorce papers were signed, and the void left by Linda's absence was something he had to live with every day. The journey Hogan went through after the divorce was not easy, but it taught him some important life lessons. He admitted that divorce was not just an end. It was the beginning of learning how to live without someone you once thought you would always be with. The scars of the relationship didn't disappear, but over time, Hogan found a way to live with them. He learned to keep going, even though life didn't feel the same. He still hoped that the next chapter of his life would be kinder and that peace would eventually replace the pain. Hogan's reflections on his divorce show a different side of the man, who made millions laugh as the cheeky, fearless Mick Dundee. Behind the public figure, there is a man who has experienced deep personal loss. His willingness to speak candidly about the emotional cost of his separation from Linda is a reminder that even the most successful and famous people face the same heartaches and struggles as anyone else. The end of their marriage wasn't just the end of a relationship. It was the unraveling of a partnership that had been central to both Hogan's personal and professional life. In the end, Paul Hogan's divorce from Linda Kozlowski is a powerful reminder of the human side of fame. While the world may see a celebrity, the pain of personal loss, heartache, and the difficulty of moving on is something that affects everyone, no matter how famous they are. Hogan's story shows that despite the fame, the love, and the success, life can still be filled with moments of vulnerability and emotional pain.